Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Studs and Scrubs podcast. We are not recording on December the 25th, although Santa Claus Nickstrom might have you thinking we are. How you doing, Nick? I'm loving the Santa Detroit Red Wings hat there.
Yeah, well, we got to get in the festive spirit here. Halloween's over, so now we're moving right on into the Christmas season. Now, everybody I know, don't get upset. We still do Thanksgiving. Um, but so my family is actually out here visiting now. I got family from South Carolina and family from Maryland here. And so uh, my 90-year-old grandma and my 1-year-old niece, so quite the wide range. But we are doing our Thanksmas. We're combining the two, Thanksgiving and Christmas, Thanksmas, and just because we don't, busy schedules and just chaotic lives and that kind of
Yeah,
stuff makes it hard to get together on Christmas or on Thanksgiving. So we do it
right,
when we can. This year is a little earlier. We normally have it sometime between Thanksgiving and Christmas,
right. Thanks, man.
but Thanksgiving's kind of late this year, so I don't know that we get that extra like weekend or however it works. I want to say Thanksgiving is like the 28th or something, which sometimes it can be as early as like the 22nd maybe,
That
because
sounds right.
it's the fourth Thursday in November. So
Okay,
I
right.
think the earliest it can be is the 22nd, and like the latest it can be is this year, like the 28th or something. And so there's not a lot of time in between Thanksgiving and Christmas this year. So long weekend, Veterans Day is Monday. People have off work, so it just made it easy to do it this weekend. Everyone came out to my house in Illinois, and actually today we had our big Thanksmas meal: turkey, ham, mac and cheese, mashed potatoes, corn, rolls, sweet potatoes,
You are
uh,
getting me jealous over here.
stuffing, gravy, yeah, just all the good stuff, dude. And the Christmas tree cakes. You can't see my shirt, but it says
Most
most
likely
likely
to eat all the Christmas.
Christmas cakes, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Christmas
So
tree cakes. Nice.
Christmas tree cakes. So we had a bunch of those. My mom got shirts like this for everybody. Um, you know, hers says Merry Thanksmas. She's got ones football and turkeys and like Friends
Yeah.
themed, like the one with the turkeys or whatever, and so we all had kind of a little silly, funny shirt to wear. And, I get my Santa hat out, Red Wings, of course. And
Perfect.
yeah, just getting in the spirit, getting in
I
the
love that
festive
though.
spirit.
It's
So
easy for you to get in the spirit too for our listeners. Nick is a big Christmas guy.
big
So
Christmas guy. So also one thing that we did, because my mom was like, "Are you going to put your Christmas tree up?" And it's like, man, I would love to, but it is kind of early. But more than that, it's like it's up in the garage, like put with all the other Christmas stuff. Like
right.
I'm not decorating everything for Christmas. So for me, just to get the tree and find which bin has the ornaments and which bin has the lights, and it was just like,
True.
oh,
It's
that's gonna
easier if you're
be.
like, I'm getting everything.
So
Now let's
what
go
we
through
did, right. So what we did was we went to Menards and got a pre-lit Christmas tree
it.
that we could just put up in the corner of the room. And it's not too big, and we're actually going to use it and put in our office. Um, so Stu, you know the layout of our house. We have two
Yeah.
kind of front windows. So main Christmas tree goes in the living room in that front window. Office, the other front window is where we're going to put this tree when we put our other Christmas tree up. And this
Yes.
one is going to have all of our like family ornaments. So every year we've been getting family ornaments from like trips, we take, places we go. Like this year, I think is we have an ornament from when we went uh, and visited you guys, and then we went to Epcot. I think we got a
Okay.
Christmas ornament back in April over spring break when we were down there visiting you guys. So
Nice.
we have a Christmas ornament from every year, and it might be from a state we visited, a trip we took, or just kind of something we did during that year. So we have a little like Christmas tree that we put those on like the kitchen table, but it's getting pretty full. So now we're moving to like it's not a
Older.
full size uh, tree that's going to go up there, but I mean it's pretty good size.
You
Not
got
as
like a
big as our
5
main
footer or
Christmas
something?
tree. Yeah, yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it was
That's a good
pre-lit.
sign.
It was
I had that for
perfect. So
years.
it was like we're just going to put that up for now. It's pre-lit. Rochelle got like some ribbon stuff out. She like put a little ribbon on top, and we got a little. I think we like did like a sheet or a blanket for the like the little tree skirt,
Yes.
because I
Yeah.
was like, we have a couple tree skirts, we can make it work. And then I went to the garage and I was like, yeah, but I don't know which bins the tree skirt is. Like, we'll just have to use something else. Um, so it's worked out. We have enough of the Christmas vibe going in our house with the little tree and the lights and different things, but we're not all out yet. So we'll get there.
Nice.
But we wanted something, for when my family was out here to be able to kind of get in the mood a little bit. So
Right. Right. Because it's
yeah,
not always
got the
about
holiday mugs.
the cup of cheer. Right. It's not always about
Mm.
the exact day. Right. You got the family there. You
Yeah,
guys are doing it right now. And it's already getting cold, right? It's still nice weather. It's still November. And your loophole, I was thinking while you were talking, since Thanksgiving's late this year, well, Canadian Thanksgiving already happened.
good point. Good point.
So
Like
you're
a
still,
month ago. Like a month ago.
yes,
So
they,
we're
I
in the
actually
window.
know,
We're in the
right, I
window.
don't know the day exactly. So they do this,
Yeah.
if I'm reading it right, the second Monday in October.
Okay.
So it's quite a bit earlier.
Yeah.
I knew a little bit because now that I live in Florida, the
You know more
snowbird
about
park,
Canada?
kind of. The snowbirds from Toronto come down
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that
in
makes sense.
Montreal, but
Yeah.
it's surprising. There's a couple of these 55 plus, like they're like trailer parks, but they're like nice ones, you know.
Yeah.
So nowadays, where I live is all new. Everything's brand new. You've
Mm.
been, but like it used to be really, really country rural. Like I'm, you know, not like in Tampa
Yeah.
downtown, right? So when you're out there, it's all farming. They actually farm a lot in Florida, but it's not like in the Midwest
Yeah.
where there's big farming. It's all ranches.
Yeah. It's
Basically,
not
there's
like
no winter.
crops.
The
Yeah.
grass never stops growing, so they just
Yeah.
throw the cattle on it, and like it just. I never really thought about it. They have tons of cattle in Florida.
Yeah.
So all that to say, is you'll go to these older towns that used to be really rural. They have these nice trailer park golf cart communities with gates that are 55 plus only.
Mm.
And there is 3 or 4 of them that fly the Canadian flag. Like there's a
Oh,
lot of
wow.
Canadians that come down. And I was like, what the heck?
Hmm.
And so I learned over time that it was like, I don't know what's wrong with people if they have a fear or they want to bring their stuff. People drive because you start to see around Halloween
Mm.
Ontario
Oh,
license
okay.
plates
Okay.
and Quebec license plates, and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, what's going on? Where are these Canadians from?
We're being invaded.
And you literally get, it's so weird living in Florida. You get waves of traffic. You're going to work in July and you can get there easy peasy, no problem. Well, then school starts up again. So not only is it like, well, the people live here, but like they all, we all leave at the same time. So everyone's
Right.
going to school. Okay, if you're a stay-at-home parent, you don't drive to work at 7 a.m., but now you go take the kids to school at 7 a.m. The buses are rolling, etc. So you're like, oh my God, I got to leave earlier for work. All of a sudden, I got school. And heaven forbid you're in a school zone.
Yeah.
Okay. Then October comes. It's still related. Canadian Thanksgiving's over. It's already cold up there. They're
Yeah.
saying, "Hey, we did our thing with our family. We did Thanksgiving. We're out of here. See you guys in March." And they all take off to go to Florida. So all of a sudden, the traffic picks up, and then, funny enough, my dad just came home today. We're recording at 11 p.m. Michigan. He came home at like 9 o'clock. Once it's November, the regular U.S. snowbirds start to go, it's cold. I'm
Yeah.
leaving New York. I'm leaving
Yeah.
Michigan. I'm leaving Minnesota. And they all start coming down here. So You
Hmm.
get three different waves of like, I've got to leave for work so much earlier than you forget. You come back around, and it's the first week of June. You're like, I feel like I'm in World War Z. All the zombies have taken over.
Place
There's
is a
no
ghost
cars.
town.
Just ghost town. Anyways, so there's your loophole. Thanksgiving
Mm.
already happened to our friends in the Great North.
All right.
And you guys, good, good. I love the double tree because I'm trying to get the double tree in this house. This is gonna be the first
Yeah.
Christmas in this house. We had one of those small trees, 4.5, 5 foot,
Mm-hmm.
and actually it might have even been shorter. But I would put it up on a box and put the skirt over the box so it
Oh,
sat up
right,
in the
right.
color. And we got rid of it when we moved out of our apartment because it was just a cheap one I bought at a thrift store. So I got it for like
Right.
$20, but it was fine. And it was our apartment tree. So now we're married. Now we have kids. I was gonna say kids. We don't. We have one.
Are we making an announcement on the pod
No
here, Stu?
announcement. No announcement.
Okay, okay.
But anyway, so we were gonna upgrade to a bigger tree, and I'm like, yeah, but the office window faces the road. The family room faces our backyard.
Yeah.
So we kind of need to get two, put it in Grandpa Big Mike's office in the front. Anyways, good stuff though. We're getting excited for the holidays, and luckily, total coincidence, I got a tree on. Nothing to
Oh,
do with Christmas
nice,
tree. This is Lord of
nice.
the Rings. This
Okay,
is the tree of
okay.
Gondor. But anyways, got my notepad here to keep us on track, which we have failed.
Awesome.
So I'm gonna get right into fantasy this week. There's a lot that's been happening in the
Let's
league.
do
It's
it.
kind of more of the same, right? The gap keeps getting bigger and bigger with some of the bottom teams, like Nashville has not turned it around. They're still struggling. We've
Yeah,
talked a lot about that. The Jets somehow are still winning. They won tonight,
killing it.
14 to
Steamrolling
1.
teams.
They're just unbelievable. And Adam Lowry had a fight with Jamie Benn. It wasn't really much to write home about, but there's some big boys chucking them. It was
Mm.
decent considering they're stars.
Yeah,
I mean, Adam Lowry's a little more, go to work, put your boots on
yeah.
type of a player, but like two
Jamie
star
Ben's
cap,
pretty big dude. Yeah,
right? I mean, yeah, I wouldn't fight Jamie Benn, so
right.
but I've heard Lowry's just like tougher than nails. You could hit him with a sledgehammer, you wouldn't feel it. But anyways, so around the league news, Wings are struggling, they suck, but
Did they get shut out today?
they did.
Mm.
And as good as Jonathan Quick is, obviously he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. We'll talk about Hall of Fame a little bit. Probably save that for next week.
Yeah.
But I mean, they just got pummeled. There's 4-0. The Wings just don't look good. It's a bummer. It's depressing. How do you feel about? We're trying to do a short episode this week, so I don't want to go too detailed. But people are calling for Lalonde. Is that how you say his name? The coach.
Yeah, the coach.
Lalonde, is his time up? Has he run his course?
Man, I don't know. I don't. I'll say no. I just feel like the Wings are a team to be patient, and maybe they err on the side of being too patient.
Yeah.
And um, it is easier if your team's struggling. You can't get rid of all the players. It is just easier to get a new voice in the room, and just get rid of the coach and
Yeah, players are
try
stuck,
something else.
right?
Yeah,
You sign Mo Sider to 8 years, 7, I guess. Well, nobody's
right.
trading in Mo Sider.
Yeah,
That's not happening.
yeah.
So we're getting rid of the coach. Okay. How about this? Before we go too far, to put you on the spot, because we didn't talk about this
No, that's
before.
fine.
Quinville. People keep bringing up Quinville.
I have heard
not
that.
allowed in the league yet, but
Yeah,
Stan Bowman's back. We
yeah.
all know what happened back in the day with the Blackhawk stuff. One, would the Wings really do it if they could? And two, should they? Because you would think Yzerman can make a call and say, Yzerman carries a lot of weight. Joel Quenneville carries a lot of weight.
Yeah.
You would think Quenneville's got a job wherever he wants it, even despite what happened in the past. People are going to hire him.
I would say so. I don't really see him going to the Wings because I think Joel Quenneville wants to go somewhere where he would have a little more control of the roster. maybe a little more
Mm,
say and input. I think Iserman's going to have the final say. He's not going to back down or give that up. He's the one pulling the strings, making the
yeah,
moves, making the decisions. So I think Joel's going to want to go somewhere where he's got a little more, uh, not leverage, but just a little more power, a little more say in the makeup of the roster. And I just don't see that being Detroit.
yeah.
Um,
It's a good point. Now, how
so
about this? People critique Eiserman, right?
yeah.
That because of who he is, he can do no wrong. So when he does something that isn't right, people won't tell him. Do you think Quinville
Mm,
would have enough weight to kind of be like, I disagree with you, and push back in a way that Eiserman maybe would respect, and they would kind of
mm,
both make each other better? Where Eiserman's not saying like, "Well, who the hell are you to tell me what to do? I know how to build a team. I built the Lightning team. I'm amazing." And in a not that he's that arrogant, but like that
yeah.
Eiserman kind of is like, "Listen, I have a game plan." Where Quinville can kind of bring a similar amount of uh, you know
Right.
expertise and say, "Look how many cups that he's won."
Yeah.
He's the coach, he's the guy. Okay, Eiserman is GM of the year. He's obviously a legendary player. Like they both have such amazing resumes that I wonder if Quinville could kind of do a better job of saying like, look, I disagree because of X, Y, Z, and
Mm.
Eiserman being like, okay, I'm going to trust you on this one.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, you don't want to surround yourself with yes men. So
Mm-hmm.
it would be nice to have people, give you honest feedback. Um, but again, I will say that Detroit has been known to, I mean, just look at the last several coaches. It's been within the organization,
Yep.
or this Lalonde he was in Tampa Bay, right? So, I mean, obvious ties to Iserman.
Yep.
So there's that relationship there. I don't know what Quinville's relationship is with Iserman. I,
Yeah. No idea.
I I would imagine Stevie Y hates him because he coached the Blues and
In
the
the
Hawks
Blackhawks.
and
Yeah.
the Avs and just all the teams that we don't like. So,
Right.
uh,
Right. I'm kind of anti him just because I associate him with teams I don't like.
yeah,
So
I
I'm like,
will
I don't
say
want
this. I don't know that if Iserman would hire him or not. I do think Iserman is humble enough. I don't think he's arrogant to be like, this is, I'm so great. This is how we're going to do it. But I do think that he is calculated enough. He knows what moves he wants to make. He's got a game plan together. He's going to stick to it. He knows he has to stick to it. You can't waver on it. You're either all in or, if you start going, well, okay, um, then you're kind of wishy-washy and you're making moves that you don't really want to just because. Um, and I will say that what Lidstrom's got a role with the team. I'm not sure what
Yeah,
exactly.
he got brought back on some made up, you
uh,
know,
Right, you're a great player. We'll
made
give
up
you a
job.
job.
You're Nick Lindstrom. Here's a job.
Yeah, and Chris Draper, I know is a little more involved. He's
Yeah, and I think he
with
has a
like
more
player
wrinkle.
development. Yes, yes, and I think. I don't know who else is in that organization. I feel like maybe the Wings have gave Yari Fisher a spot after he had that episode on the bench with he's got like a heart condition, I believe,
Yeah.
and so he couldn't play anymore. But I think I mean, at least Draper, I feel like having played with Iserman,
Mm-hmm.
and now his resume obviously doesn't stack up to Iserman's, but he's got another cup. He's got one more cup than Stevie does, and just because he played a little longer. But I think Iserman would respect those guys. Those guys I do think could walk into his office and be like, "Hey, man, I think we need to do this," or "I don't know that
Yeah,
that's going to work out." I think they have that kind of relationship with him that they
you're probably
could.
right. If
Um,
Draper said,
Now, are
"Look,
they in that position to do that? Does Iserman consult them on anything? I have no idea. I don't know what the inner workings are of that.
right,
Um, but I would imagine I'm one that is blindly following Iserman and saying trust the Iser plan.
that's the eyes are
Uh,
playing."
Now I
I
know
say
it's
that.
probably been a few. People want to see it sped up and they want to see
Yep.
it faster. But he knows. Um, he drafted the goalie Kosa, and he knew
Mm-hmm.
that kid was going to be. I won't say buried in the minors, but like that it was going to take some time for development. We're not going to
Yep.
draft these players, and the Wings have never been like that. They don't draft these players and then start them. They draft them and then they put them in the minors until they are ready. And a lot of people think they hold them down too long. Um, and Raymond's only there because that preseason he had a couple of years ago was just on fire, and they
Yep.
couldn't send him back down. So I don't know what the answer is. Um, you know, Iserman's not one to make any like knee jerk reactions. He's not going to
Yep.
change the coach mid-season. Um,
And there's other,
they were
yeah,
close last year. They were close to making the playoffs.
they
If they
almost
make the
did.
playoffs, if they make the playoffs last year, we're talking, hey, we've made progress. We're seeing
Yeah.
progression every year. So you're taking steps in the right direction. So maybe at the end of this season he reevaluates and we see where we go. But I mean,
Yeah. And the long term plan, like you said, there's people like, that you kind of have to give it time where it's like a Raymond is like, they're still so young. Like,
yeah, he's still what, 22,
yeah, and
23
now he's not
max?
only on line one, but like, okay, Larkin isn't exactly leading the NHL in points, but he's in the top goal scorers. I think he
Yeah,
just got number
he's
9
got
or 10.
9 or 10 so far.
So
Yeah,
like he's really high in the standings for goals. Okay, so again, if somebody could help Larkin score the past
yeah,
8 years, like then we'd be a different team. And so it's like, okay, you got Raymond, you got Sider, but then there's these other guys. Is it Edvidson? I'm looking at the roster. I'm trying to remember who's who.
yeah.
Edvidson, Gustafson, Casper, Kosa, the goalie, and then I cannot remember his name. He still plays in Sweden. There's a defenseman that people are like,
Hmm.
this is another,
Yeah,
like you don't want to say Lindstrom, but like this dude is out of control good.
yeah,
And okay, so you've got two of your top people don't even play in the NHL in theory. And then you've got, four guys that are under 25. So if you're kind of saying this is our team, it's more similar to Montreal and the Sharks, where you're going, it's going to be 2030 when we're good, not
yeah.
2025. Like
Right.
that's what it is. And so if Eiserman's like, trust me, this plan will work, it might work so far down the line. The same thing happened in Tampa. He left Tampa and came to Detroit, and 2 years later they go to the Cup final 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
It's like
And
Eiserman built
that's
80% of that team.
and that's the thing. He is building for the future. He would much rather build a nucleus for that's going to be together and going to be good 5 years down the road and then be
Mhm.
solid for 8 years, 10 years, rather than just try to do a quick turnaround and have you be good for one or two and then you're right back to rebuilding and drafting. Like he's doing it the slow way through the
Yep.
draft and through player development. If you just go back and look at the roster from when he took over to where we're at now,
Yep.
he drafted Mo Sider, Rookie of the Year. We got our next goalie, for our next franchise goalie is waiting. Pardon the pun, but he's waiting in the wings, and so, but he's going to be the goalie of the future, So and they're bringing him along slowly, letting him develop, and when he finally gets caught up, he'll be there for 8, 10 years.
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
you brought in some free agents. We got DeBrincat. You had some bridge contracts. David Perron, um, Fabry. We've let some of those guys go now because it's like, all right,
Yep.
we just wanted to help bridge the gap a little bit.
And some
Some
of
of
them
the
are still doing
defensemen,
well.
yeah,
Even
some
if
of
the
them are,
points aren't there, you got Cop and Comfort are solid players. You just
yeah,
wish that they were on your line three,
right,
not like you guys have to score 30 goals or we're not going to make the
yeah,
playoffs. It's like that's not who they are. They're
right,
50-point guys that play on your third line. And that's, there's just a talent gap. Basically, they're just not quite
yeah,
there yet. And unfortunately, it's a pretty good segue though. The Capitals are every
mm,
single game putting the Red Wings' chances of making the playoffs further and further away. I know it's
yeah,
November, but the
yeah,
Red Wings struggle and the Caps are not slowing down. They're just on fire, and it seems like every game they get better. Not no signs of slowing down.
yeah.
The
What was that game
real quick,
tonight?
Yes. So real quick before
8-1.
I say that was that we're going to kind of focus on it next week and slim over it. But speaking of building deep, getting those draft picks and developing within, Pavel Datsyuk, fifth round pick, going into the Hockey Hall of Fame this upcoming weekend. The
Was
episode will
he
come out
fifth
on
or
Monday.
sixth round?
Might have been sixth. Might have been sixth.
He was a late pick though, for sure.
Yeah, because there was some stat that now I'm thrown off because it was like he was like the fifth all time points of getting drafted in round six, or sixth all time getting drafted
Oh,
in round
gotcha.
five. So I've
Okay,
got my
okay,
numbers all jacked up.
yeah,
But anyways, that's just the Wings. That's what they do. Back then, of course, it was difficulty with the cap. They were so amazing when the cap got
right,
introduced. But all that to say is that building from within is the best way to do it. It just sucks when like your team is in the middle where they're not the worst team in the world and they're going to go get Macklin, Celebrini next year.
yeah.
Okay, well, we're not that bad,
And
but
there were a couple years where they were. There was one year in particular they were the worst team in the league, and then I think
yeah,
they got the fourth draft pick,
they
fourth
dropped,
overall.
I
They didn't
think,
even
from
get the
3 to
top
4.
pick. And I want to say
And
that's the year we picked Raymond, so it kind of was working out for us. But it's just the luck hasn't been there for the Wings. And like
has
you
not.
said, when you're the middle of the pack, now you're drafting middle of the pack, and you have to hit. If you're going to build through the draft, and you're going to, uh,
Hmm.
you want that to be how you build your team, you have to hit more than you miss. And that takes a while to see if it's going to pan out or not.
Yep.
It's
And,
not,
and you
hey,
know,
next year if you hit or missed. It's a few years down the road. It's like, oh, that guy's a stud or that guy's a scrub.
yep, literally, and it sucks because it's like you can't rely on it, right? Like look at Edmonton; they're amazing now, and yes, they hit the jackpot. They got Connor McDavid, and they also got Leon Draisaitl. Okay, cool. Didn't they have 5 first round picks that just didn't work out? And you're like, oh, they suck so bad. How did they pick that guy and not that guy? When you're sitting there doing the research and you are some sort of hockey expert that goes to all the games, it's so easy on your couch, on your phone.
Right.
Imagine driving around, flying around all over the whole country, scouting and saying, look, I'm telling you, Ryan Nugent Hopkins is going to be the next best player in the world. Okay, well, he is very good, but he wasn't Connor McDavid. And it's like, you know what I mean? You can't go,
Right.
oh, Taylor Hall, he's going to be the next dude. He's Joe Sakic. And it's like, apparently not. Okay, well, you can't rely on being horrible and getting the draft.
Right.
But it sucks to be a team like Boston that spent 10 years being really good and then didn't win a cup, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously they won in 2011, but
11. Yeah.
they should have won that year against the Blues. They were the better team, and they probably should have won 2 or 3 years ago when they set the record. Like, so to move off of all that is just saying that the Wings, it's a difficult time to be a fan because you want them to do well because we're not like so horrible that you're like, hey, I'm loyal even though my team's in last place. It's like you watch the game and you go, are you freaking kidding me? 4-0? You know?
Yeah.
So other swing into the Capitals, into Nick's prediction looking really good. Alexander Ovechkin gets 2 goals tonight. The Capitals stomped the Blues into submission, 8-1.
Yeah.
And I keep seeing on social media there's this save. Jordan Bennington's like
I heard about that. I
over
did
in
not
the
see it.
corner talking to the fans. No, he like went to get the puck and it took a weird carom bounce, right?
Oh,
So
okay.
he comes diving back, dives, and it was an amazing save. But I'm sitting there going, didn't you get scored on 8 times? What are we showing here? But no, but it was a good save. But that being fantasy, Ovechkin being on fire, Capitals looking good, goalie Logan Thompson looking good, is carrying me into my beef with fantasy right now because Logan Thompson, your son has, as we've
Okay.
discussed, his trades are insane, right? Well, there's this feature in Yahoo that I never realized I had a problem with until this week.
Oh, okay.
You know that if you try to add or drop a player or whatever, and they're involved in a transaction, you can't move them, right?
Yes.
So if I'm trading away my guy and then I try to drop him and pick up a player, they're saying, whoa, what are you doing? They're involved in a trade. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
here's the thing. It's 6:50 at night and a guy's hurt and a different guy's playing, or I have an open roster spot. So I move whatever it was. I move a guy to IR. So I'm going to drop this guy and I'm going to add this guy. And it says you can't. And I can't figure it out. I'm trying to do it. You can't add anyone. They're involved in transaction. I said, I'm not making any trades. This guy's not in a transaction. So the
Yeah.
closer and closer we're getting to puck drop at 7, I can't make my move. And I go, look, I had pending trades. Eli
Mm-hmm.
offered me a trade.
Yeah.
If you want to move that player, you have to either accept or reject the trade. So it became a weird beef with Yahoo I had that I said, if it's 6:58 and I'm picking up a guy or whatever,
Right.
you can't do it. You have to go to the trade, evaluate the trade, and reject the trade in order to drop that player and add a new one. So then I thought, what a strategy. What a horrible, slimy strategy. The Sunday of your week, you offer the person you're playing trades nonstop. You send him 10 trades. When he hits reject, you're just sitting there on your phone at 6:50, sending him any trade.
Now that's interesting. So you can't.
Freeze him out.
I knew that if I proposed a trade to you, I couldn't drop the player that I had in that proposed trade. But you, as the one that's receiving it, can't
Yeah.
drop.
And I didn't
Wow.
remember that being a thing. Maybe it's like a glitch or it's a new feature. But Eli offers me a trade. I didn't even open it yet. I go to drop my guy and add a guy, and it says you can't. They're involved
Okay.
in the transaction. So
Wow.
I could freeze you out by offering you trade after trade after trade. Then I kind of freaked out because I said, you're going to do this in the championship game, but you can't do it
Trade
because the
deadline's passed.
trade deadline. But
Yeah.
still, you could in theory, you'd have to be kind of a nerd. You could really plan out like in advance.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
interesting.
Sunday there's only 2 teams playing. He's going to have to drop somebody to go pick up a guy who plays for this team. I'm going to just
Wow. Okay. Like I said, I knew that if you proposed the trade, you couldn't drop those players, but I didn't know if you were the one receiving the trade offer.
so
Wow.
that's a weird
Okay.
one, huh?
Interesting. Very
Yeah.
interesting.
Moving off that or staying on that, I guess, with the fantasy. Let's see here. Quick shout out to our friend Irish Canadian Pirates, by the way. Nally.
Yes, Nally.
Doing really good this year. 4-0.
Only undefeated team left.
Only undefeated team. And it's a little annoying to me because I'm the type of person who goes, I'm pretty much undefeated, even though I'm 2-2.
Right. Should have won that one. That one was a close one. Could have gone either
That
way.
was a close one. I basically won. Yeah.
Which
Because
is
I don't
true
remember the
because you
details.
played Miles and he
Yeah.
actually had his sister set his lineup for him or something. I don't know what
Something
it was.
happened. It was my family. Okay, I'm playing my brother. He hasn't done very good this year in fantasy, but he destroyed me at first. He was beating me by 50 points on Monday. I said, what happened? I'll just delete the app. I'm done. Then he ended up beating me by 1 point.
Yeah.
I wish it was
crazy.
further apart. I was so mad. And the week
Those
before
close
that,
ones hurt more.
And the week before that, it was close all week, but I was winning from Monday all the way through. I was every single day I was up by 5, up by 10, up by 3.
Yeah.
And then on Sunday, I'm going to bed. I'm up by like 10 points. I'm like, oh, nice. That was close, but I won. I wake up, you lost by 5. And I don't remember what it was. It was something, it was kind of my fault. It was like I overthought it. I played the wrong guy. And like then I had a goalie who didn't play, and I had an easy pick. I should have picked up a goalie or something. And it was like he dropped 2 people and added 2 people, and they both scored. And it was like, that was it. So it was kind of like luck, but it was a good move. And so I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Now I lost 2? Like, so I'm undefeated.
Who are you playing this week?
I am playing Eli,
Eli, Honey Nut Cheerios.
the Honey Nut Chelios, and I'm
Yeah,
destroying him right now. But I'm
yeah,
getting a little lucky on. Well, I shouldn't say lucky. Mitch Marner remembered that he
mm,
can play hockey
yeah, yeah.
because he has been horrible for me this year and is just ripping it up this week. So no complaints there. You have a trade pending. Let's see if our listeners like this one.
Yeah, what is that? I'm getting Uyghur, giving up
What is that?
Ekman Larson, and then there's some
You
draft picks.
you are going to get Mackenzie Wigner. He is going to get OEL, Oliver
Yeah,
Ekman Larson.
yeah. Which
But
I needed. I'm trying to bolster my D a little bit, the blue line. And Uyghur surprisingly gets, he's more defensive. I don't see him
yeah,
get a lot of offensive numbers. Um, Ekman Larson has the potential playing on with the Leafs, and especially if he keeps getting some power play time.
yeah.
But Uyghur is
Don't
uh,
worry. When this
one that's
airs
going to
on
get some
Monday,
blocks, and
it'll already
yeah,
have gone through. Nick's
Eli's
trying to.
already he traded me Braden Point, and then he gets hurt. So Eli's already gotten me once with this thing. So if Uyghur goes down after this trade goes through, I'm gonna open an investigation and see what's going on
This
here.
is
This
going to
is
be. He
crazy.
somehow knows he's an insider. And the draft picks, by the way, are you give up your 16 and you get his 10. No, the
Other
other
way
way around.
around.
Other way
Yeah.
around.
Yeah,
You're
but
giving
10th and
OEO
16th,
and
I'm
10.
fine if they're double digit round picks. Dude, it's such a crapshoot.
It is a
Sometimes
crapshoot,
you can
which is
have great
why
players
I.
available late rounds.
That's exactly. Which is
Yeah,
why I did not vote against it, but I feel like this is a win for you. Because who cares about round 10?
right.
At the end of the day, you can overanalyze until your heart's content, but whoever you picked up at 10, somebody got in round 12 a player who's doing better
Right.
that
And
year.
half our teams probably have dropped their 10th round pick already.
They probably have. I don't have that up right now. It would have been a good one to show, but at the end of the day, you're getting Uyghur and he's getting OEL. OEL is
Is
in Toronto.
essentially the trade, yeah. Yeah, he went
OEL,
undrafted. I picked him up at some point.
and yes, he is a power play specialist that a lot of people are saying that over Riley, over
Hmm.
anyone, he should run the power play. That is his specialty. Okay, the fact remains that he only is going to play like 18 to 20 minutes as a defenseman, and he's offensive minded, but he's just lower down the depth chart. I mean, maybe not. Maybe he plays higher up. I don't watch a lot of Toronto games, but like
Hmm.
Toronto doesn't have a problem scoring. Their scoring comes from, I was just complaining about Mitch Marner. Their scoring comes from Willie Nylander this year. The
Yeah,
dude is a one man superstar. He can do everything. So, like, OEL is fine, but it ain't 2015 anymore. Uyghur is the pick. I think you won the trade. You gave up around 10. Who cares? I
yeah.
wanted to also evaluate blind. I have not opened it yet. A trade live again because he's
I
always after my
love
draft picks.
I love doing that.
Okay, this
But
one's
I
a
think
little
this
more fair.
one's
He brought down the numbers because he's tried to give me this player a few times. Do you think Nikolai Ehlers is a first round pick? Top 10 in the NHL, top 12.
no. So
Okay.
I'll say second or third probably, but I don't know that I would draft him first round.
Neither would I. So round two, maybe, but you got to think you have defensemen and goalies. So like
Yeah,
round three, probably.
probably
Okay.
round three. Depends on who's, a lot of factors there. Who's available? What do I have? Who was my keeper? But around two or three, if he's there, I might snag him. But yeah, not in round one.
Not in round one. And so this is the trade he just sent me is Nikolai Ehlers for my round two. It's basically the trade. Ehlers and a round six for Velarde in a round two.
Mm,
So that's a little closer. I
yeah.
probably would say no because I have so many wingers, but he's been coming after my first hard, and he likes to send people that are not first round picks. They're good, but they're not first round picks.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm okay with it. I love that he's out there just like shooting everybody trades. And half the time I'm
Everyone
like, Eli,
trades.
I was trying to trade you. but it says your like transaction, you're at your limit.
You're
Like he
overloaded.
can't. Yeah.
I think it
Um,
was Skinner. I think he tried to give me a Skinner. He knows that's not a round one, but it's like, oh,
yeah.
Skinner for a round
Yeah.
two. I'm like, dude, Skinner wasn't even drafted.
Right. So I love that he's involved in the trade stuff, but it does seem like he's a little bit on the um, I'm building for next year already, 4 weeks in, which, whatever. But I would just like to point out my poor buddy Chris from work, who is still yet to hold my trophy, had 3 first round draft picks this year, and I'm playing him this week. So I don't want to jinx myself, but I was up pretty good the last time I looked earlier today. So if I beat him this week, he'll be 1-4, and he had
You,
three
um,
first round draft picks.
you are beating him by a decent gap, and his picks were kind of interesting.
So, you know, is it who I would have picked? Probably not. Are they still first round draft picks? I mean, you're talking J2 Miller, who had a great year last year, Roman Yossi, who, if I'm being honest, if I was there, I'd probably snag him because my keeper was Forsberg. And I'm thinking going into the season that Nashville's going to be way
Yeah,
better than what they are. And so I'm going to double dip on those Yossi, who had like 90 points a few years
I
ago.
was
Was
gonna
going
say
to,
Yossi basically had 100. I think he got like
yeah.
90 something.
And then I think he took Vasilevsky. So, so he got a forward, a defenseman, and a goalie all. Um,
Yes,
would my
because
strategy might have been a little different? Maybe. I don't really recall who was there and available and all of that stuff. But the fact remains, he had 3 first round draft picks, and he's about to go 1-4.
yeah, and I think maybe he had 2 second round picks. So he had
Yes, he
5
might have.
in the
Yeah,
top
yeah. So
whatever
part of me is like, Eli, are you
30.
not paying attention? Like he had a bunch of early round picks, and his team's not doing
And
great.
it's not doing great because again
You
he
can
had
still build a
Vasilevsky and
team.
Saros. Right,
Yeah,
you can still build a team. Vasilevsky and Saros, you think, okay, well I got the best goalies in the league probably. Okay, well
yeah.
Hellebuck's not even close. Okay, well
Oh,
Shesterkin maybe is
yeah.
the only person. Those two are on their own planet, but it's like Saros is sometimes good. Today he's good. He had a 26 save shutout today
Mm,
playing Nick, trying to curse himself.
yeah.
That's 13 and a half fantasy points. But this season overall, not so good.
Yeah.
By the way, he is grasping at straws a little bit trying to beat you. The goalies are this week Saros, Comrie, Nedeljkovic, Bloomquist, Soderberg, who's the
Mm,
backup for Chicago, Vasilevsky, and Samsonov.
wow. Yeah.
Seven. Seven.
I mean,
So there you go, Eli. You got 5 picks in the top 25,
and
and that's your
yeah,
team.
yeah.
Which, okay, by the way, I don't know if we ever said this on the podcast. Um, Still yet to hold my trophy, had 3 first round. I had 2 first round. Okay? We got 5, right? We can do the
Yeah.
math.
Yeah.
Out of 12. First round, there's 12 people. We had 5 picks, and none of us had a pick above number 5. We were 6 through 12, the
Oh,
two of
right.
us.
Yeah, yeah.
Our 5 picks added together were 6 through 12. No one got a 1 through 5. And I said, whoa, 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 whoa. There's a scam going on here. Something got tricked up.
Yeah. Whose first round pick did you have?
Oh, I thought it was yours, but I guess not. Might have been Eli. He went all in.
Okay, so then I wonder if I traded Eli my first round pick and I got Ovechkin from him. And then I
Okay.
think maybe he traded you the first round pick that
Your
he
first.
got
Oh,
from
okay.
me. Yeah,
Yeah, that might have been
yeah.
it.
Because he did go all in there, and his team was killing it. If I don't beat him in the semis to go on that last game,
Oh,
Canucks Ducks,
he had McKinnon and Rantanen, right?
yeah, he
For
scored more
one.
points in that last week than I did in the championship game. So I mean, he would have won it, but
maybe even all time because he was winning. The way our fantasy points works is somewhere between like 180 and 200 is probably like normal. If you
yeah,
put up 250, you probably won. Eli was doing 240 to like 300 every week. It was like
yeah,
just he was so good. It was
and
just like ridiculous, but fell
same with
short.
my team because I think I was the last team in the playoffs last year, and just rode a hot streak. So that's what I was trying to tell him. Like, just because you're trading for all these draft picks for next year, man, you can still compete this year with your team,
Yeah,
and try to go for this year. I mean, I get if you can build for next year and get some more draft picks and stuff, but it's like, dude, that's no guarantee. Go
no
for it
guarantee.
now. That's and especially, it's different if you're playing some sort of dynasty league or something, and it's like, okay, I want to build my team, and then I get to keep everybody. Dude, we're throwing everybody back in the pool.
Right,
You got to build your team every year anyway. So
which
just
is the fun part.
it is. It is. So I don't know. There are teams like I said that have had a bunch of first round draft picks this year that aren't doing so hot, and then you got other teams that maybe didn't have a first or a second and are still competing, still doing great. So, but I like that aspect too. That's almost another little challenge to me is just to try and figure out, okay, what am I willing to give up? A second. Who? Let me go look and see who was drafted in the second round this year and who was
Yeah,
available. And a great example from our draft this year, Mark Stone.
yeah.
I don't know where he's sitting at currently, but he was as high as I think like 3 or 5 at one point, fantasy player in the league, in our league on how we score. And I think he was drafted in like the 15th round.
15. He was by Bender City Pigeons round 15, and he was leading the NHL in goals, and he was really high in points. He still is
Yeah.
doing pretty dang good. They caught up a little bit, but and it's not only and injuries too, but like you look at some of the picks that it's like Sidney Crosby went in round 2, which you
Did he?
think is a little high for his age, but like he put up a lot of points last year,
Okay.
and he's still kind of a guaranteed points. I'm looking at Miles right now to what I would say. I'm looking at it kind of going, I don't know, bud. Those are, some high picks. Number one, he picked Nylander,
Mm,
absolutely destroying it. Then he takes Sidney Crosby. I don't know, bud. He's 40 years old. He's got tons of points still. He's a point per game. He's over a point per game. Josh Morrissey can't be stopped. He's got to have the most points except McCarr
yeah.
out of the defenseman. Then he goes Markstrom. Okay, a little bit of struggle there. But you start scrolling down a little bit. He's got late round picks that were like Zuccarello, Michael Grundlin for San
Mm,
Jose. Dude is in the top 100. He's the only person on San Jose who puts the puck in the net. Miles picked him in round 13. Haberdu kind of resurrected his career. Max Domi, round 15. Miles has some weird picks that are doing really good. The reason I went here, though, before Stone was to look up. I can't spell his name.
Who's that?
Oh, he was a keeper. Never mind. I was curious how high Kaprizov was drafted,
Mm.
but he was a keeper because I don't know if people would have expected
Don't
that.
tase me, bro.
Don't tase me, bro. It's his keeper.
Yeah.
Which then he took Mikko Rantanen, number 4 overall, so he's doing fine. But he
Yeah.
also took Alexander Gorgiev in round 2.
Mm.
Forgiev, debatably the worst goalie in the NHL. Whoopsie. But and he drafted Gabriel Landeskog. They got some interesting choices here.
Ooh.
But
What round did he draft in?
Landeskog, round 15.
Okay, so real quick, I will go on a little tangent here. I don't mean to interrupt, but I I love some of those picks. Now Landeskog's a bit of a stretch because he hasn't played in 2 years. Who knows what he's coming back to? Yada yada
True.
yada. But there was a time, it might have even been, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, where Brad Marchand started the year on like IR, wasn't going to come back till mid-November, whatever. He gets buried in the rankings. No one's paying
Mm-hmm.
attention. I draft him in like round 7 or something crazy because I'm like, okay, round 7, who's I'll draft him, stash him, and
Yeah.
then because round 7 might be someone that you pick up and eventually drop after 2 weeks because you're like, all right, I missed on him anyway. But
Yep.
a player like Brad Marchand um, was someone that I was willing to pick in the 7th or 8th round, stash him, and then when he comes back, dude's a machine. He's playing top line. He plays power play. Yes, he gets some penalty minutes, so that hurts him, but he's in on all the scoring. And I was like, yeah, give me that guy because that's a free superstar ad a
Yep.
month into the season that I can get.
A
And so
month.
there's
And
still guys out there now, and I hesitate to give names because they're on my watch list. But if you want to do that, Evander Kane's still out there in our league.
yeah.
I don't know what his timeline is, but we have 2 IR slots on our thing.
Right.
If they're not being used, why not? Especially on a Saturday or Sunday, if your matchup is already set, if you're winning by a lot and you know you're going to win, or if you're losing
Yep.
by a lot and you know you're going to lose, make those moves in that week for the future.
Yes. Yes. That's smart. You
So
got ads. You're gonna lose this week, or you're gonna win this week.
yeah,
Drop somebody and go get Evander Kane and bury him on the IR because if he
bury
comes
them
back
on your
a month
thing.
early,
Worst case, someone gets dinged up and now you're in a close matchup and now someone gets dinged up and you have to put them on your IR. Okay, then drop Evander Kane, put that guy on your thing. You haven't wasted an ad or anything.
right,
The only thing you've done is shown your cards in a sense. You've shown your hand that, oh, I'm watching that guy that's on IR that might come back in 2 months or 4 months or
right,
whatever way down the road. But those are sometimes the little things. Now it doesn't always work out. Those guys come back and then they're not the chemistry's not there. Maybe they come back um, afterwards when the fantasy playoffs are done, and whatever. But it doesn't hurt to have that extra. Those are essentially 2 free ads. Even if you pick up someone that's out or day to day, if they get healthy, I mean, especially later into the season, players are always getting dinged up. So then it's a
yep,
free ad, essentially. If I pick up Tyler Seguin and he was dinged up, I put him on my IR plus, and then Braden Point gets hurt, Seguin's healthy. Okay, I just swap him, and
right,
it doesn't cost me an ad because he was already on my team.
yep.
Now, some people don't like that strategy. I don't know. It's out there. You can do it. People know about it, so you know.
Mm,
My thing is everyone can do it.
right,
I'm not cheating the system because it's like, okay, well, it's something that everybody can do if they want to, if they're paying attention, if they're,
right.
digging
People
deep.
think it's too risky, or well, that guy's hurt. Why would I pick him up? But if he was on your team, if you round 7, like you said, is a good example. There's some round 7 people that are doing great. There's some round 7 people that are kind of eh. The
Yeah.
biggest one probably is Jeff Skinner. I
Mm,
said he wasn't drafted. Well, he was, but he shouldn't have been. He
mm,
was drafted in round 7. He's a total bust. He sucks. He can't score. And Edmonton basically should just leave him on the bench.
yeah.
Um, maybe too harsh, but if you drafted someone, I only said round 7 because you were talking about the Marchand example. Okay, well, Eric Carlson, Lucas Raymond, these are round 7s for us. Brandon Montour, Cole Caulfield, who is outperforming, I think.
Yeah.
He's crushing it this year.
Yeah.
Okay, any of these guys. Pick whichever one you want. Even, okay, Patrick Kane went in round 7. Miles.
Mm.
He's not scoring like he did last year. He's doing
Perfect
okay.
example. I think I drafted him late last year because he was hurt. He wasn't
Because
going
he
to
was hurt.
start right
Yes, you
off
did.
the bat. So I
Yes, you
gamble.
did.
I take a 7th, 8th round flyer on him because it's like, all right, who else am I drafting? A Jeff Skinner? Well, then give me
Right.
a Patrick Kane. I'll bury him, and then I can essentially right after the draft, I can put him on my IR plus. Wait till everybody clears waivers because there's like a 2-day waiting period after the draft before he can just start adding players, and then I just pick up a free ad.
Yep. And guys like that we did draft, but they're near the bottom, are like the Tarasenko's, Boone Jenner. I got Bowen Byram. He got 2
Mm,
goals the other day as a
yeah,
defenseman. There's been some people that are way down low or undrafted. We talked about in an earlier episode that you can get And you're a little bit lucky sometimes, but it's like that's part of it, to understand that like you don't have to necessarily. I got a good example. It was actually for my studs and scrubs this week, was more of an example. I picked a defenseman example because I've been
Okay.
having trouble with D a little bit. So it doesn't always have to be the big name, right? You had a good example last week talking about Monahan as a stud.
Mm.
Monahan, to our point earlier, where Eli trades away all of his draft picks to be the best team, but then he loses in the semifinal, is because a lot of it, as fantasy, you have no control over it. So
Right.
if you have McKinnon and he scores a goal 20 games in a row, but he doesn't score the week you're in the finals, you
Yeah.
lose. Like, and so if you get Monahan, who is, no one would say Monahan is better than Sidney Crosby,
Right.
but he had more goals last week, or whatever,
Mm.
So it's like you got to be hot at the right time. There's a little bit of luck involved, but sometimes you got to dig just a little deeper and check when you're just adding and dropping people. I've seen for several weeks now, they say the number one recommended pick is Vetrano on Yahoo.
Mm.
And it's like, he's just a bigger name. Vetrano, and
Yeah.
it's based on Yahoo's projected over 82 games. He's going to be projected to be better than this guy, so he's the best available pick. Then I sort it and I say total points so far this year, he's nowhere to be
Yeah.
found. He's got like 2 points. It's like, well, then why would I pick him up? I need whoever's hot like right now.
Yeah.
So,
And he might have been one that still yet to hold my trophy picked kind of early. I don't know
oh,
what
maybe.
round it was.
You know what? You might be right, because I think people were hyping him up. Like, yeah,
He had a
round
good.
8, speaking of round 7, round 8, Vetrano got picked up.
And he's already been dropped.
Not only been dropped, but I wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah.
Although, speaking of injured and coming back, if you've got Celebrini or you don't have him, go get him, because the dude can't stop putting the puck in the net. But okay, so my example for defenseman, it's kind of a stud
Okay.
and scrub mixed in. They were both available to pick up. So I said, man, this is a good example. Like, they're both available on the same team. Who are you going to take? So I had a defenseman slot open. I wanted to pick someone up or whatever. I don't remember. I needed a D, or I was looking at D. So the first guy has 17 fantasy points all year, 0 goals, 3 assists. Okay. He is on 6% of teams in Yahoo. The second guy has 41 fantasy points, so 17 to 41. 0 goals, 5 assists.
Okay.
So he's got 2 more assists, but he's got way more fantasy points for block shots and whatever.
Sure.
So they're ranking. The first guy is ranked 473, and he's on 6% of teams. Now, he did miss a couple games, so grain of salt here. The other guy is ranked 168. He's on 7% of teams. So they're basically rostered the same, 6 and 7%, but one dude's 168, the other dude's 473. Worlds apart in their fantasy points. And the guy who is ranked 168, he was only rostered on 4% last week.
Dang, okay.
So I said, whoa, okay, that's interesting. You're 4% rostered, and you're 300 spots higher than the other guy. So I'm looking at them. They play on the same team. The first guy, who's overvalued because of his name, is Jared Spurgeon.
Okay.
So Spurgeon has no goals at the time. I wrote this down. No goals and 3 assists, and he's ranked 473. He's only got 17 fantasy points. I think he missed 4 or 5 games with an injury, so. Yeah. But it doesn't change the fact that he was rostered in more leagues. So when you're going to pick someone up, do you go, yeah, I know he hasn't scored in a while, but he's still Spurgeon. He's still going to be on the power play. He's still a better defenseman. He's going to log more ice time. Like, I'm still going to take him. Or Brodin plays on the Minnesota Wild also. 0 goals, 5 assists, way more shots on goal, way more block shots, 41 fantasy points. He's currently hot. And to just push the pin a little further on the no-namer who's currently hot is, for the Kings, almost identical stats. 0 goals, 5 assists. Brodin's got 41 fantasy points. Gavrikov on the Kings has 45.
Mm,
He's only in 3% of leagues, and he has 10 more plus minus than Brodin has.
okay.
So he's all across the board better in every single stat, and
Yeah.
he's only in 3% of the teams while the other guys are
Wow.
in 7. And it was just one of those examples. Now, Gavrikov was, I think people were yelling at him because of that goalie interference goal where the guys were tied
Mm,
up and he was like spearing what's his name in the stomach. But it was just a good example. I saw that. I threw out too many numbers. I hate when I listen to podcasts and they do too many numbers. I'm like,
mm.
I
Yeah.
can't follow.
Right.
I don't have it written down. But it was just interesting that they had such better stats and were rostered in less leagues. And
Yeah.
if I'm going to pick up a
That
guy,
is crazy.
it's the same thing where like Leah had somebody hurt, she was picking up a D. The best available was Jakub Slavin. Okay,
Mm,
well, he hasn't been playing good this year. Dmitry Orlov's available. Okay, Slavin's probably a better hockey player, but like Orlov's going to get points in
right.
fantasy, right? So it's one of those things where like, do you go for the big name because it's Jared Spurgeon? Or do you say, statistically, Gavrikov's better, I'm going to pick him up, and I'm going to get 3 or 4 or 5 fantasy points off of block shots and off of maybe a lucky assist, where Spurgeon might go get a goal and an assist,
Yeah.
but not right now. And that's that fine line of when do you go with the name versus it only took me like 20 minutes to dig in a little bit and say Spurgeon's not the move right now. So I guess he's my scrub just because of that example. And
That's
Brodin
good
was
though.
the stud.
Yeah. I like that. It is kind of crazy how, especially this early in the season, how just a little difference in fantasy points makes such a huge difference in their overall, ranking. But you're right about the name thing. I think that gets a lot of people sometimes is just the name recognition, and they think, because it is whatever someone they know or someone that had a good year last year, that it's like, oh yeah, I'll grab them. Well, that doesn't always work out. It's not the best strategy sometimes, but so my stud, I apologize, I haven't done a ton of research this week. Rink stuff, been busy and the family coming in and whatnot, but Stu, help me out with his name. The winger for Vegas. I
Oh,
just picked him up today.
hold on. I had it right here in front of me. I will attempt to pronounce it correctly. He's
He's
a
my
winger
stud.
for Vegas. He's playing really good this year, but I think he came out of nowhere. I feel like he didn't play a lot last year.
I don't think so.
I
I
don't
feel like
remember
he
his
came
name.
out of nowhere as well.
Pavel Dorofeyev.
Perfect.
Dorofeyev.
Sounds good to me.
Dorofeyev.
Uh, if he's available, because he's available in how many leagues is he rostered in?
Let me see his
Percentage.
name here if I can click it from this
But
link.
he's been on a hot streak, and
Yeah.
so he's one of these guys that pick him up for a week or two. Just kind of see if you got someone that you can drop. I think I dropped Marchenko from Columbus for him. Marchenko was doing pretty good. He's just a little streaky, but he's someone that I wasn't really plugging and playing. And this guy for Vegas, I might drop him next week, but right now
Yep.
he's a stud. I'm willing to take a shot on him, mostly because while he is on the second line, he's getting some power play one time.
Yep.
And
He
if you're on
got
the ice with, yeah, if you're on the ice with the likes of Stone and Hurdle and Jack Eichel and those guys, you're accidentally going to
Hanifin,
get some points.
Petrangelo.
So,
There's
yeah.
5 goals in his last 7 games and 3 power play points in his last six.
Okay.
6. 5 goals in his last 6, 3 power play points in his last 6, and 2 assists in his last 6.
Mm,
Ranked, according to our points, ranked 84 in the league.
yeah. So
So he's
just out of
killing it
nowhere.
there.
Yeah.
And he's only rostered in 24% of Yahoo leagues.
Yeah. So if
That
three
that is
quarters of the league's
diamond
out
in the rough.
there, go get him, pick him up. You might only keep him on your team for a week or so, but right now he's playing hot. Put him in
Mm-hmm.
there, and see what happens. But
I like that pick
that's my stud.
because I've had a few. That's a great stud because I've had a back and forth fight with myself of some guys that are way bigger names than him that I
Hmm.
would rather have him right now because, of course, fantasy hockey has no control over it. Hockey's bad. Maybe it's right now because of football. There's like 2 games on, and then on Saturday, every single team in the league plays, and you're like,
Hmm.
so now I got to decide who to play. So I'm having a nervous breakdown because Zabinajad sucks so bad that I'm like can't play him. Okay, well then he is doing well this week finally. Kind of, he got an assist against Detroit. Okay, so could I.
Yeah.
But he goes out there, and I've got luckily just made the right picks basically. Jordan Kyrou didn't play well. Okay, Velarde only had an assist, but he had a better game. He had more points, so actually I made the mistake there. But that's the type of thing where you got Kyrou, you got Monahan, you got Velarde, I've got Slavkovsky, and was the Benjab as a center only, and I've got Nietzsche's. Well, Martin Nietzsche's has been absolutely on fire for 2 weeks, so outlier. But they're all rostered in way more of the league. I guarantee you, I should just do it while I'm holding the phone. Is Kyrou is a good example. Kyrou is ranked 79. Your guy was ranked 84.
Yeah.
So your dude is in 24% of Yahoo leagues. Kyrou is in 83% of leagues. So that
Crazy.
is just a good example where now over 82 games, maybe Kyrou has more points.
Sure.
But what I've noticed about the Blues and Kyrou is like I thought they were a really deep team that was scoring on all 4 lines, like the Jets and like Dallas.
Yeah.
And they're playing pretty well this year. They've got good goaltending from both Hoffer and Bennington. What I'm really seeing is if Robert Thomas is out hurt, they are done. Because yes, they got pummeled 8-1 by the Capitals, but like I didn't look up their roster, but they have looked very pedestrian since
Yeah.
Thomas went down. I don't think he's back yet, right? He's
I
not
don't
back
think
yet.
so. No. No.
And so, anyways, that was a great pick by you because Slavkovsky did play terrible today. He basically shouldn't have shown up to the game. He got negative fantasy points, and Toronto rolled over Montreal like a dying dog. But that I like those pickups. You're good at finding those in the rough ones.
Yeah, and I don't really know why, but I like to kind of
Jeff Skinner is so bad.
my thing is if you can find guys that play on the first power play, I mean that is huge, especially
Yeah.
after the draft. If you're just looking to pick up someone, you're looking to give yourself some opportunities. What player is going to have the most opportunities? I
Yes.
always kind of struggle because there are times where um, I think it was Granlund when he was with or Garland with Vancouver. Um, he would play on the third line, but he was on the first power play.
Okay. Diamond in the rough.
Do you? And so then the struggle becomes okay. Do I pick up the guy that plays on the third line but first power play, or do I pick up the guy, which doesn't happen very often, but that maybe plays on the as a top six forward, but maybe is
Yeah.
only on the second power play?
Right.
Which do I want to gamble with? And then it kind of depends on, all right, well, how good is this team's power play? If it's Edmonton, if it's Vegas, if it's the Caps, if it's, a high flying score, if it's the Rangers, I'm willing to give me that power play time.
Giving that power play. Here's a real life example of exactly what you said. So only because I noticed it today. The Winnipeg Jets, I think, go 14-1, right?
Mm,
And so they're
that's crazy.
unstoppable. They're unstoppable. Their goalie stats are through the roof.
Yeah.
They're number one in goals for. They're number one in the least goals against. I mean, every category. They're the team to beat. They're so good, and it really is getting. I'm starting to say like, can they hold it all season?
Mm,
I'm not sure, but they're looking good. and Edmonton looks bad, and I think they'll turn it around, and McDavid's out, but he's coming back early, and blah, 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 blah,
Yeah.
blah. The point to what you were saying, though, is that I think they are 46% on their power play.
That's good.
I don't have numbers in front of me, but I'm pretty sure anything over 20% is like top of the league.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you're at 15%, you probably suck. If you're at 25%, you're probably number one in the NHL. So you're at 45.
Right.
So that is going to cool off eventually. So there's a little. The Jets won't go 81-1, but they do look good. And the real life example is on line 4. He's a very good line 4 player. I feel like he'd be higher up on most teams. Is Alex Iafallo.
Oh, yeah.
He's on line 4. He plays right wing on the second power play unit with Nemetsnikov, Nino Niederreiter, Iafallo, Cole Perfetti, and Neil Poink.
Yeah.
So if that's your second unit, like, yes, Kyle Connor, Ehlers, Scheifele, Morrissey, Velarde are getting the time. But when you're a fourth liner who is an okay player who gets decent points, that's your pickup Sunday night where you're going to lose and you don't know what to do, and you're looking at whatever, Vetrano or Iafallo. Pick up Iafallo because he's on the best power play of all time.
Yeah.
Even though he's on line 4. So there you go. Is he on me with the team? Now I kind of want to go get Iafallo.
Yeah, is he on a? That's a good point.
Let's do this.
I mean, there are always guys out there to go get. It's just doing a little bit of research, seeing where they're at, what's going on.
No, he's available.
Yeah.
He's not a good pickup, though. No offense. But we are right. If you picked him up today, though, he got a power play point, a goal, and an assist. 9 fantasy points against Dallas in a 4-1 win. He's only rostered 1% of teams. 1%.
Yeah. So here's a good example, or at least an example. So for the Washington Capitals, I know Obi had a couple goals tonight. I'm not sure who else did. Connor McMichael, I think, had a couple. But so on the top line
is he, and how is he so good?
Yeah. On the top line for the Capitals right now is Ovechkin, Dylan Strome, and Protas.
Okay.
Protas. Alexei Protas. Okay, fine. I'm sure that Protas guy is available in our league.
Probably.
He is top line 1 for the Caps, but nowhere to be found on either the first or second power play.
Wow.
Now you can get
That's interesting.
Andrew Mangiapane. He is third line for the Capitals, power play 2. Now the Caps is a little different because normally I like to get guys on the first power play if I can, but Ovechkin plays the whole power play.
Right.
So it doesn't even matter. But if I just have to pick up a guy for one game towards the end and I'm trying to get those points, this isn't a player that I'm going to pick up and hopefully he's going to start to tear it up and I'm going to ride him for a month. I'm strictly talking about here like guys that you're just picking up, you need in a pinch. You're trying to add a game to your week to win. I'm rolling with the guy that's on the power play. Now, some of that is just how our league is scoring. You get kind of, I think, an added bump or a boost if your player scores a power play point.
Right.
And there's even debate about that as to whether that should be a thing or not. You do get 2 points if they score shorthanded, and if they score either a goal or an assist, that's 2 bonus points if it's shorthanded. It's 1 bonus point if they score on a power play. And I understand the argument about, well, they're on a power play, they should score. But it also, to me, makes it like, well, yeah, they should score, but also this is making guys that play on the power play more valuable.
More valuable because the superstars are always going to be.
Yeah,
So if I've got McKinnon and you've got Kucherov, they're both going to get 140 points and they're both going to play on the power play. It washes out.
right.
But like you're talking about, if you do your research and you take a little bit of time, and, or just if you think fantasy's fun, if you
Yeah,
like these stats and you just go, "Ooh, this is interesting," you're
yeah,
just kind of a little, kind of a stat nerd or a hockey nerd, where you can give yourself a little advantage. Where if I'm out there and I need to pick up someone Sunday, like you said, Protas, I see Protas, however you pronounce his name, and you go, "Okay, he's on line one. I'm going to pick him up." Or you
right.
go, Mangiapane is on line three, but he's on the power play and Protoss isn't. The same team, the same line, uh, Sargo, Sargbosa, Michael
Okay,
Sargbosa,
yes. Yeah, yeah.
same thing. Sargbosa and Mangiapane and Varana is line three. But
Third line,
both Mangiapane and Sargbosa play on line two
the
power
second
play.
power play.
And it's so funny. I'm looking at Daily Faceoff's lines, right? They're
Yep,
usually
yep,
right. They have power play unit one and power play unit two, Ovechkin.
yeah.
They
And I
literally,
think
he's
he
on
does.
both lines.
I
I
mean,
think
he's
he does play all
essentially
2 minutes, but
yeah,
like the fact that he's like probably officially like written on the roster as like I'm on both units. I play all 2 minutes. It
right.
is insane.
He's the
So
closest to a DH the NHL has.
right, literally. So imagine
Designated hitter. You're going out there for the whole power play. Post up in your office. We'll feed you the puck.
right. I don't run. I hit dingers. That's
Right.
that's what I do. Right. So imagine you're out there looking for a guy, and while Pierre Luc Dubois is doing a little bit better in Washington, he's not breaking any records or anything. That dude is so talented and so big. He can still post up at that little half bumper. He gets down in that low wall, that Kucherov
Mm-hmm.
wall. Sakic used to play there. And it's just like, okay, I'm going to control the puck and I'm going to bumper it around to people. Okay,
Right.
well, if he gets it or Mangiapane touches the puck and he throws it to Chitrin or PLD, they slide it over, patented OV one timer. I just got a point in fantasy because Mangiapane did a 3 foot backhand pass to the guy standing right next to him.
Right.
Because he goes, okay, I won the battle in the corner. I scooted over to Chitrin. Chitrin goes up top. He fakes a shot, gives it to Ov. We score.
Yeah.
How? I mean, that sounds like that has happened 861 times. 864, whatever the heck he's on.
Uh,
And if I go pick up Protoss, I just lost fantasy because he's not
right.
on the power play. And sometimes it is that close. We just talked about how I'm 4-0, even though I lost twice.
Yeah.
But that's good. And then at the same time, I would pick up Jacob Vrana over Mangiapane every single time. But
Yeah.
that would be the wrong move if you're talking about just better
That's
chances.
kind of the name recognition there too.
That's the name recognition
Yeah.
problem. That you're kind of going, well, Stu, you shouldn't because he doesn't play on the power play.
Right. So
That's a good one. I like that.
it's
I also like learning your tricks so I don't lose every year.
there are some different strategies. I mean, they don't always work out, but I love trying to dig deeper into some things too and just figure out like, all right, what would work, what wouldn't, what gives me the best chance, who's out there, who do they play with, how much time are they getting? Um, yeah, I just love all of that. I love doing the deep dives. So, and I use Daily Face Off a lot um, for
Yeah,
line
they're good.
combos and just projected starting goalies and that kind of stuff.
Starting
So,
goalies.
but yeah, so I mean, use those. Uh, I don't know if a lot of people do or not. Um, I don't think I did right off the bat. It was just kind of like, when we first started doing fantasy, I'm just drafting the big names, the big guns, and that's really all I was going by. But as it's gone on, it's like, and the teams have expanded. Year one we had 6 teams, so everybody's team's loaded. You don't have to dig very
Right.
deep for players. We're not, using any of them, but when you have 10, 12 teams in your league, you have to be able to find those guys that are going to put up some points that maybe are a third line guy or, whatever it is, a grinder, but yet plays on the power play. Um, we weren't playing fantasy hockey at the time, but just in my head, like Tomas Holmstrom, um, third line guy, probably fourth line guy for Detroit. But guess what? Power play. He's
Parks in
either
front of the net.
he's either going to get the assist, uh, or the goal or a goal because he's standing there and Lidstrom hits it off his butt and it goes in, and because he was the last one to touch it,
Yep.
it counts for him. Same with Ovechkin when he's on the power play. I mean, yeah, you're tic-tac-toeing it around there, and if Ovi scores, great. The last two players to touch the puck get an assist. So three of the five players on the ice are getting a point.
Yeah.
Or Ovi shoots it, goalie saves it, and someone gets an easy rebound tap in, or something like that. Oshie was great about that too. He was kind of in front of the
Yeah.
net. Ovi shoots it, and then Oshie just cleans up the rebound. So that's the stuff that I love to kind of dig
You
through
get
and
that
figure out.
to, and like you said, it's not always. You look at Zach Hyman last year versus this year, right?
Oh yeah,
So he scored whatever it was, something crazy. Like I think 38 or 40 of his goals were
power
less than five
play.
feet away
Oh
from
okay.
goal.
Oh yeah.
And
I do
so it's
remember
like,
that stat.
but then this year, it's not that he's horrible. It's just that last year, he had 50 goals, and he's
Right.
on pace for like 15. So it's like,
Back to
whoa,
being
what
Zach
happened?
Hyman.
And so it's like, okay, he might still get 30 this year is a good year, but it's such a drop off comparatively.
Hmm.
So it's like you're talking like, okay, find that type of player just for this one game, just for this one time. And it's a
Right.
strategy that the technique, or not the technique, but just the approach. I'm going to find a guy who's available, who plays tonight, who's on a power play, because otherwise I'm going to lose fantasy.
Those are my
It's
best
a
odds. Those are
bulletproof
your
strat.
best odds. Yeah.
It's your best odds, and you can't always do it, but it's like it's a good find where you avoid the big name, you avoid grabbing this guy, and maybe you don't overthink it. Where you're going, okay, well, they're playing San Jose, so they're probably going to win. So I'm going to pick up a player who's playing against San Jose. That can sometimes work, but in fantasy, you just look at it doesn't matter if the team lost 8-1, the Caps versus the Blues. If you've got the Blues player who scored the one goal, then you got a goal in fantasy.
Yeah.
So skip the big names. Don't worry too much about lineups, matchups. Try to find some of
Right.
that good stats that's bulletproof. This guy plays on the power play tonight. Get him.
Yeah.
And that's the formula that will work, is the word I was trying to think of. The formula
Formula. Yeah.
is a smart strategy, and it'll work more often than not.
Yeah.
Because if he does nothing, who cares? You're dropping him. It's just a pickup.
Right.
So that's a good one. Speaking of
Yeah.
just a pickups, keep your eye out. He's not a good pickup right now, but he might be. Daniel Sprong got traded from the Kraken to Vancouver. He just got traded back from Vancouver to the Kraken today
Okay.
or yesterday. So he didn't play a lot of games this year. I don't know if he's hurt or he wasn't fitting in with the Canucks, but he might get more ice time going back to the Kraken. So someone to look out for. He's probably
Yeah.
good for 20 goals when he's playing well. So
Yeah. Nice. I like it.
that's about it,
So
though. We were going to do a short episode today,
yeah,
and I feel
I
like
hate to be this guy, but I know we had talking about Datsuk and the Hall of Fame and stuff. I don't want to shortchange it, so I'd like to
no.
save it and like really be able to dig into it if we can.
Yes, because it's also one of those things where it's happening this weekend. When the episode comes out on Monday, it'll be over. But um, Datsuk obviously is our favorite guy going
Yeah.
in. He's one of my favorite players ever. And it's like we want to kind of spend a little bit of time on Datsuk, but also like just talk some Hall of Fame in general. We were talking about some of the
Yeah.
guys who got in versus some of the people who aren't in yet, and we'll focus on that a little bit. Also, I don't
Yeah.
want to say too much because nothing's concrete, but I just felt like I should mention it kind of. It was this random thing I saw on my Instagram, and Nick knows all about it, but it was the IIHF, which is the what does it stand for? The International whatever. It's the International Hockey, right? The Federation. What the heck does it stand for? Anyways, the the other ice hockey. That's why I get it mixed up, because when you're talking international sports in Olympic sports, they play field hockey.
Gotcha.
So I always am like, what is the double I for? But field hockey is obviously a gigantic sport around the world also.
Right.
Even though in the U.S. it's kind of like a girls' college sport, I feel like. But it's like, I think it's India's national sport. So field hockey is a big sport. But the II is for International Ice Hockey Federation.
Gotcha.
They are trying to make 3-on-3 an independent sport from 5-on-5 hockey. And I guess that coming into January, there's a proposal going before the IOS, the Olympic Committee, to make 3-on-3 an Olympic sport that is separate from 5-on-5 ice hockey. So I don't know if that would be Canada's going to put out Makar, McKinnon, and McDavid as a 3-on-3. And they just take the gold home. Wow. Or if it means like you have a totally different sport.
Pool of players and sport that you're,
And so what I've gathered, the only reason that this came up is because this sport has been around independent from 5-on-5 for a little while now. And specifically 3-on-3 women's IIHF is officially recognized as a sport. It's separate. And the first ever event that is in South America is taking place. But it also key marks this week. It started on November 7th. It is the first official IIHF women's only 3-on-3 only real sponsored like official IIHF event ever in history.
Wow.
And so I'm on Instagram and I see it and I say, Team Brazil is hosting in São Paulo, Brazil. And I won't get into it now because Nick and I are going to get into this. We both have connections separately and together of people who are Brazilians. And Nick married a Brazilian. And so we're like connected to quite a few people who live in Brazil throughout our lives. And we're like, what? They have a hockey team? I didn't know they had a hockey team. So I just reach out and I just say, that's super cool. I didn't know this. They're playing Puerto Rico, Colombia, Argentina, and Brazil has 2 teams.
Oh, wow.
And the skill level is a little step down from like Canada, US, Russia, but like it is so cool that not only is it, girls sports, but it's girls in these non-traditional markets that have a chance to play hockey.
Right.
I'm blown away. I didn't know it existed. I say, hey, this is super cool. I didn't know this was real. Can we interview you for our podcast? She comes right back to the podcast Instagram and is like, I would love to interview with you guys. Problem is I don't speak English super well. So, do you know Portuguese? And I said, I don't. But I know a lot of people who do.
Yeah.
So Nick and I are going to try to do an interview with a player for Team Brazil 1. They fielded 2 teams.
Yeah.
And Team Brazil 1 is currently in this tournament right now. They're the host nation, and it's going on. They play on a little teeny tiny rink. There's a YouTube link. Maybe I should put it in here. You can go watch them. You can watch them live on YouTube. It was in Portuguese or Spanish if you watch. But Argentina, Puerto Rico, Brazil 1 and 2, and somebody else, I'm drawing a blank, Iran, I think. I think that there's one that's not from South America. Super cool, though. It was super cool. The hockey was, okay. I watched one game.
Yeah.
Puerto Rico beat, Leo wants me to tell it, so I have to. Puerto Rico beat Brazil 13-1. So.
Wow. Yeah.
But that was Brazil 2. I think.
Stu said I married a Brazilian, which is true. So I'll return the favor. Stu married a Puerto Rican. So.
Yeah. So there we go. So we got our Latin blood here, us white guys here.
Yeah.
And so, well, there's a little more details with Nick, I suppose. But but Argentina tied Puerto Rico 3-3. So I
Oh,
think
okay.
there's some teams that are a little closer in
Yeah,
skill, and
yeah.
there's a couple of gaps. Brazil had to put two teams up, I assume, numbers or something. I don't know, but I
Hmm.
think Brazil one is a bit
Probably
higher
better
than
than, yeah, gotcha.
Brazil two.
Yeah,
The scores would indicate.
we'll definitely have to figure that out here soon too. But I think we could make that work. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think
So,
it'd be fun, and also while the tournament's going on, because it's one of those things that it's like, even if it's not anything super famous or whatever,
yeah,
it's a strange, fun thing to be like. Our first interview was with. If this becomes an official Olympic sport,
yeah.
imagine some of the
An
sports that
Olympic
aren't.
athlete on our podcast.
I mean, like one of those things, right? That it's like, some of the sports in the Olympics that aren't as famous. I will pick on uh, ray gun.
I knew you were going there.
But like, if you said our first interview was with a breakdancer that was an Olympic sport, it would be something that you 20 years ago would say breakdancing's not in the Olympics. What are you talking
Right.
about?
Yeah.
Badminton, rifle shooting, some of these sports that weren't always in. I'm going, oh no, 3-on-3 girls ice hockey. The first ever event we interviewed a player,
Yeah. That would be cool.
right? And
So,
there's just a lot of I like stuff like that for our podcast in the future that are like, okay, if you can't just text Sidney Crosby and say like, hey, dude, you want to
oh,
come
for
on for an
sure.
interview next week?
Yeah.
There's like local things. There's junior leagues, or there's like I kind of like the workers behind the scenes in the
Mm,
NHL. I don't know how you get a hold of people like that, but it's like,
mm,
hey, I drive the Zamboni for the Blackhawks, and I'm like, how do you get that job? Tell
okay.
me about your
Okay.
life. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that would be cool to kind of do some of those where it's like, maybe you're not the equipment manager, but maybe
Yeah.
you're like, I worked in the security to the tunnel where the players came out for 14 years.
Yeah.
I used to bump fists with Ovechkin every game. And you're like, cool. Well, I mean,
Okay.
how do you get that job?
Okay.
Is it just like, are you just a security guard or do you like know hockey stuff? You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Okay. We can let me work on some of my connections, see what
Because
I
you
don't
have actual connections in that world, the maintenance hockey
I'm
world.
starting to network a little bit, and I took a promotion at work in the last year and a half, and so I've been going to the NARS, which is North American Rink Convention and Expo, and so once you start going to some of that stuff, you realize how small the hockey community and the hockey world really is.
Yeah.
And so my boss knows more people than I do, but um, starting to build some of those connections and networking a little bit, and yeah, it is pretty interesting. So probably could, um, I don't know, we'll see, but that definitely be an angle to go, and a fun thing to get off the ground going a little bit. I think we could do something there with that.
Yeah, it's something like that. And you know what? I might have a connection. I wonder if I'd be able to do. I don't know 100% what it is, but my buddy I used to play with, his dad became the coach for Illinois State hockey team. Actually,
Hmm.
Illinois State is not real NCAA. They're like
Yeah.
a lower division, but his dad, I think. I don't want to say it wrong and have someone like Google it, but I swear they had this plaque in their basement that was penguins. And we were young; it was like 2005 or whatever, and so I
Yeah.
didn't like the Penguins because it was like Crosby and everything, and they were good, and Red Wings were good, and I was like, eh. But his grandpa, I think, worked at the Penguins ice rink, the
Oh,
one
okay.
before, the old one before PPG paint.
Mellon Arena.
Yes. So he has this picture that is signed by everyone on the team, and it has a plexiglass brick that has a piece of a hockey net in it.
Hmm.
And the story is that it is the actual net, a small section of it, and the picture is the team photo, and it's signed by every single player and the coaches of either the 91 or the 92 cup with the Penguins. and they
Nice.
cut the net up, both nets, and they gave a section of it to all the employees.
Mm,
He worked there as like a maintenance dude for Mellon Arena, and he has a piece of the net. I don't know if it's the game net or they cut up all the goals in the whole arena, but
right.
like
Which is
they
probably what
say
they ended up
that
doing. Yeah.
it was a piece of the net from the cup win, and
Okay.
Mario Lemieux and Yager and everybody have it signed. And
Hmm.
I'm like, and we're down
Yeah.
there playing knee hockey as kids, and like, oh, don't break the picture.
Yeah.
And I was like, looking back on it now, I'm like, did Steve-O's grandpa work at the rink and know all these guys? Because that's what I'm
Mm,
talking about interviewing. And his dad, like helped coach us, and we were all really close friends. It's been years and years since I've talked to them, but now I'm thinking I could probably call. We used to call him the commissioner because he got promoted from the coach to the commissioner, and so we used to call him that. He wasn't actually the commissioner of our league, and just be like, "Hey, commish, are you still coaching Illinois State hockey?
mm,
How's life? How's it been? Let's get
yeah.
you on the podcast. Did your dad work at Mellon Arena? Like, I need to." So
Right.
I forgot about that. I'm so stupid. But those type of people, I think, would be fun to interview. Where, as much as I would like to get Kaprizov on here and say you're having a good year, I
Yeah.
don't think
Yeah.
he's going to return my call.
In due time. In due time.
Right? Yeah.
So, but yeah, we'll definitely head down that road.
Good
That'd
stuff.
be
I
fun.
blame myself
So,
for getting us off track with the Red Wings early on, but
no,
we had a
it's
good
fine.
convo about it.
It's fine.
And
Yep. I think
yeah,
this went well.
we went well, I think. We wanted to
So,
keep it short because your family's in town. So sorry. It's a
it's all
normal
right.
day for me.
Yeah. No, it'll be fine. I do need to wrap it up because I just got a thing on my phone. My battery's kind of dying on me. But yeah,
Good timing.
yeah, it was a good one.
All right,
So,
dude. Thank you for making time. I know you're busy.
yep.
Tell everyone hi. Tell everyone Thanksmas. Happy Thanksmas.
Yes,
Merry
yes, will
Thanksmas,
do.
whatever you're saying. All right, bud. Keep your stick on the ice.
All right, make the first move, Conway. Merry Thanksmas.
Merry Thanksmas.